Hey guys, what is going on? Today I'll be showing you my latest group of custom LEGO minifigures, and this time they are based off of the highly anticipated game Batman Arkham Knight. Now, I've been working on these minifigures for about 5 months now, and there are more to come, so make sure to keep an eye out. But this is the first batch. These are the main villains and, of course, Batman that I wanted to have done for the release of the game, which is in 2 days. So, yeah. Before I get into it, I just want to let you guys know that all of these minifigures are 100% hand painted by me, and they took a ton of effort. And so if you can leave this video a like or share it, I would really appreciate it. And yeah, so let's just get into the video. Okay, so starting off with Batman, you can see that there's a lot of detail on this figure. Now on the torso, I kind of use the signature kind of like Abish design. I don't really know what you want to call it, but all of Batman's suits in the games and in a lot of the comics and movies, they've kind of had like the ab shape made onto the suit, and in this case the suit was made out of metal, so I did try to get a few details on there that kind of resembled metal, like the metal on the gauntlets, and as well as parts of the belt. I kind of wanted to make a little bit more high-tech looking, or just more angled, just to kind of give it that metal look. And I did sort of the same thing on the torso as well, as you can see in various areas, such as towards the middle and the bottom. Just tried to give it some different angles to kind of show off the fact that it is supposed to be metal. Onto the legs, they're pretty simple, nothing really too amazing there. It's just that there isn't really too many shots of his feet or his boot area, so I basically just put plain boots, and I might change that in the future, but I'm not sure. Now the head is pretty much the last portion of this minifigure, and it was pretty straightforward to make. I basically copied the LEGO Group's design, and I just basically put like kind of a serious, or more so kind of like grim mouth, and then for the eyes I just put a white strip. I was originally going to do like Batman in the game and put eyes, but due to the fact that there isn't really like when you try and layer paint, basically it doesn't work too good if you're trying to fit it under a helmet, or in this case a cowl. The paint can very easily get scratched off, which was what was happening, so I just decided to keep it at this white strip, and I still think this figure turned out pretty good. So yeah, let's move on to the next figure. Okay, so moving on to Two-Face, as you can see, he kind of follows the same general design as usual, and ever since March of last year, when the first trailer was revealed, I knew that I had to make a Two-Face because he just looks so cool in this game. And as you can see, he's holding a kind of grenade launcher carbine, and I painted the end of that silver on the barrel. And all of the dark red on this minifigure is painted on, and most of it is dark red, and as well as little areas of kind of more pinkish, lighter red, just to kind of give it a little bit more of depth and kind of realistic, because if you get burnt, it's not all going to be the same color. Now, for the outfit, it's basically just a half white, half gray suit, as he has in basically everything, or at least a half one color, half other color suit. And he also has shoes, obviously, which are painted in black. And something that you might actually not notice is the fact that on the suit there is a dark blue tie, but you can't really see it in the camera, and you especially can't see it in real life. It's really hard to see, but believe me, it is there. On the face, I did try to add quite a bit of detail, putting in some of the tendons and burnt parts of the face, and painting the other half of the face as well, and giving the burnt half kind of a more crazy looking like full eye, and the open toothy mouth. And as well, the most challenging part of this figure was probably doing the hair, because not only did I have to find a good hair piece that like accurately represented Toothface's hair. For some reason, I've been calling him Toothpaste in all of these cuts, but finally called him by his right name. But yeah, so basically what I did is I just took a hairpiece and I cut it in half, and there you go, that is Two-Face. Moving on to the next minifigure. Okay, so Penguin was definitely an interesting figure to make, to say the least. For most of the part, the suspenders and just kind of regular like polo shirt, that was really easy to do. As you can see, he has a gold necklace and suspenders, like I said, and a tie and a belt, and that's basically the whole figure. Except for the fact that the face was actually insanely difficult to do, and that's probably because of the monocle. Not probably, it is. Um, that was really hard to do because to get the eyes and the monocle and everything like that the right size and not have it get messed up, it's actually pretty hard to do, and it's harder than you might think it is. Um, but I basically tried to give Penguin kind of a disgusted, angry, grumpier expression like he usually has, and I think it did turn out pretty good here. I also featured a couple of small scars around the monocle, because in like the one or two reference shots of him, there aren't too many, there were a little bit of scarring and kind of just unnormal looking parts of the face, I guess. But yeah, that's about it for Penguin. Pretty straightforward minifigure, and he was pretty straightforward to make. Now, at first when I saw the Riddler's suit, I didn't exactly think I was going to be making him due to the complexity and just all of the detail all over. But eventually I just decided I'm going to do it, and I'm happy that I did because it just looks good, in my opinion, at least. Painting on the question mark, surprisingly, was actually easy. To say, I guess it was easy at least. It was really repetitive and it did take quite a while, but once I got the hang of it, I practiced a little bit on a different torso, and eventually it just kind of came naturally. And as you can see, the question marks on the torso are in three different colors: a lighter green, a white, and a black color. And the lighter green does actually blend in quite a bit. You can't really see it too good, which was kind of a bad mistake on my part, but there is a lighter green question mark on the suit, or question marks on the suit, and once again, the two or three reference pictures, like so many of the characters, there's barely anything that you can see, which is part of the reason why I only made 6 to start out. But after the game, and I've played it myself, I will definitely have to make some more. But so yeah, other than the question marks, he's basically just wearing a suit with them on it, and he has a pretty simple belt, just a buckle and a couple lines. On either side of his khakis, he has a little pocket, and he's wearing brown shoes, as you can see. The face was also kind of another hard part because deciding what expression to give him was kind of hard. Like, there's some that are obvious, like Batman, he's gonna be serious. Penguin is usually kind of grumpy and stuff, and Scarecrow's just, I don't even know. That's not really even a face at this point, but so for the Riddler, I just kind of gave more so of a kind of questioning look, and as well as kind of serious, just because that's kind of the overall personality of the Riddler. And other than that, I also featured in the kind of green work goggles that he has in the first one or two screenshots that we've seen of him, where he's kind of looking up and he kind of has a similar expression to this. But yeah, that's it for the Riddler, and now moving on to Scarecrow. Now, to start off with this figure, I just want to say this was probably, other than Arkham Knight, the most work in trying to figure out how to do each part, just because there are so many different parts of this figure that LEGO doesn't really make, or they did make but I had to modify, or that just weren't really just kind of a straightforward choice. One of them being the kind of fear toxin canisters on his chest. Those are actually just kind of the little tube or lightsaber blades, and I had to cut those up with kind of an X-Acto knife, just saw away at them a little bit until they finally came apart, and then I painted them up. Another one of those things being the trench coat, which is something that I've done previously on my Arno Dorian minifigure from Assassin's Creed Unity. That one was more so easier to do, definitely easier than cutting up the tubes, because it was quite hard to actually get them to a point where they all looked similar enough in length where I could use them. And then the last one being kind of the Fear Toxin because I didn't know if there was a better one. Originally, I was going to use one of the kind of Wolverine claws, but I didn't end up doing that just because I thought that this looked better, since in the game it seems that it takes up a lot of his arm, and I thought that this actually looked pretty accurate and good once I painted it. So other than that, starting off on the figure, as you can see here on the legs, if I move it back a bit, on the left or our right leg, you can see that he has the leg brace painted on that is in the game, and then on the other one he kind of has a knee pad and a little bit of the white stripe where that's supposed to be the ending of his boot. He also has a belt, but you can't really see it. I mean, you can see it a little bit, but the fear canisters are basically blocking it out since I painted everything and then super glued the canisters on. The fear toxin gauntlet, or claws, or whatever you really want to call it, I think that's probably one of the more interesting parts of the minifigure, and I do like how it came out. I kind of put the black needles with the gray end to the syringe, and then the orange lines going up the gauntlet, and then also continuing onto his arm, and then also on the torso, kind of right there. I say bump the minifigure, but right there going up to the canister, you can kind of see there. Other than that, on the body, there are two brown kind of stripes to the end of the arms, right there and right there, and as well as a few stitch marks here and there that are kind of harder to see because they're small, but you can kind of see them there on that arm. Also, Scarecrow's face, that was quite a bit of work just to get everything right. This is actually the first minifigure that I've done where I actually included a nose to it, but as it's such a kind of defining feature on the Scarecrow, and without it, it kind of just looked weird, I decided to end up going for it. And as you can see on either side of the mouth, there is a little bit of a his kind of breathing apparatus on there, and then on the mouth there are the brown stitches around the black lines, and his eyes are just kind of that weird misshapen thing. I don't really know what to call them. It's just kind of like a big gap, and then there's a outline of gray, and then the pupils are white. So that wraps it up for the Scarecrow minifigure. Now let's finish off the video with Arkham Knight. Okay guys, so this is the Arkham Knight, and I have to say this is the figure that I am the most proud of out of all of these. It was quite a bit of work and took a lot of trial and error just to figure out what would work for the helmet especially, but even for the design of the body I did go through a couple different variations, and as you can see, he is literally covered from head to toe in a ton of detail. So starting off with the legs, and move a little bit of stuff aside so you can kind of see him better. There is the red camo, and then on the front of the legs there are the knee pads and a little bit of more detail, and the gray boots continue all the way to the back where there is even more camo on the back, and then on the side there's kind of an ammo pouch. And I just gave him a pistol, and they gave me as a silence pistol, but I don't really have one. And where I finished this figure so late, I finished this figure like a week ago, just because the helmet, like this was the second or third figure that I started on, but I wasn't able to finish it because nothing looked like the helmet. And if you're wondering what the helmet is, it's actually really modified and sanded, but it is the standard Clone Trooper helmet, as you can see there. But that helmet, I had to sand a ton of stuff off, and then as well I added on the kind of fake Batman ears that he kind of has that are used as communicators, which he uses basically to mock Batman, but I added those in with cardboard. Now moving on to the torso, you can see there's a lot of detail too. There is the Arkham symbol in white, and then there's more red camo, and then there's different lines and just kind of designs all over. There's two straps toward the bottom, and then there is the belt, which is 3D. The belt and the ammo pouch are actually all one thing, and they're from I think it's GI Brick or something, I forget. I got it a long time ago and I hadn't used it, so I just kind of messed around with it until I got it to look good. On each arm, there's also quite a bit of detail. There's the different armor pads and gauntlets in the front, and little highlights of silver and stuff, and black dots. Just a lot of stuff all around on this minifigure. And then here on the back, there's even more detail with the kind of, I don't really know, I have no idea what this is on the back, but it's just more adding on to the armor. It kind of looks more like a mechanical device or something, maybe some sort of monitors for the suit, or I honestly have no idea. Arkham Knight, you know, no one really knows anything about him, and I think that's really cool because he is an entirely new character. But yeah, so there is the detail on there, and then I guess I'll just go over the head. So on the head, like I said, in the helmet, it is definitely a sanded down version of that episode 3 Clone Trooper helmet. I kind of tried to get at that curve in the back that it has, and then I smoothed out the front and tried to make the front more broad and more flat than it originally was, as well as get rid of the fin and thin it out in a couple of other places, and then add in those little kind of bat ears. And for the paint job, I basically just put the blue eyes, which the Arkham Knight has, obviously, and then the silver highlights and stripes around on the helmet that he also features. But yeah, guys, that is it for the first wave of Arkham figures, and I'm going to finish this video off now. Okay, guys, well, that just about does it for these minifigures, and this video is probably long, so if you stuck around by now, good for you, thank you, you're awesome. But yeah, guys, so these minifigures were a ton of work over the past 5 months, and this video alone will probably take me a couple of hours to edit, as they usually do, and the pictures, you know, the Photoshop for the thumbnail, the Flickr picture, the teasers that are also on Flickr if you want to check those out, they're pretty cool. All of this stuff takes a ton of work and a lot of effort on me, and so if you could like this or share it, like I said earlier, that would be awesome, guys. But yeah, that is about it for this video. And like I said before, I will be making more Arkham minifigures from Arkham Knight and more minifigures from other games and movies, so make sure to keep an eye out on the channel for that. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.